Welcome to the very first Institute of Directors and New Zealand Institute of Economic Research Director Sentiment Survey. My name is Simon Arcus and I'm the manager of the Institute's Governance Leadership Centre, and we're really pleased to be able to bring you the results of this first survey in conjunction with our valued partner, the New Zealand Institute of Economic Research. As a thank you for completing the survey, we've put together this short video which details the highlights and the high-level findings of our survey. And this also comes with a summary report with a little bit more detail.
So I think there were two big themes. One was around the risk around the New Zealand dollar, what's happening in commodity prices and global growth. And then there was a slightly more domestic focus around what was happening around regulatory red tape, which is a very strong theme through the survey, but also what's happening in terms of how concentrated our economy is becoming because of our increased reliance on one or two bits of the economy that are really powering things ahead.
We've seen a strong sentiment of director optimism within their own businesses, but that's clarified a little bit by the fact that they are very wary of red tape. One of the things that's of particular interest to us, I wouldn't say it was unexpected, but it is new on the horizon, is that 17% of directors actually identified people and labour capability as a concern for them. So the way that we'd frame that up is quite interesting. Perhaps in the past, human resource, people, talent and capability issues have actually not been a boardroom issue or haven't been viewed as a boardroom issue, much like health and safety hasn't in some, historically in some organisations. Now you're seeing boards taking an interest in people and capability, and this is actually reflecting also an international trend that we're seeing overseas.
Yeah, there were quite a few different bits of red tape that really came up. The biggest one was actually the Resource Management Act that was repeatedly in the survey results. Also around building consent processes and the health and safety regulations, which has heaped a whole lot of pressure on boards and a big difference from where we were, say, 2 years ago.
One of the strong messages that's coming out of the survey is 23% of directors, and that's the top number, identified regulatory red tape as a concern. And when you marry that with 75% of directors saying that they're becoming potentially more risk averse because of compliance, then potentially you've got a problem there. And that's something that we've been thinking about a lot since the survey came out. I'd make one observation though. The environment for directors has changed. You've got health and safety legislation that's new, you've got other compliance, other regulatory expectations, and you've also got things like the Financial Markets Conduct Act coming into force, which is changing the landscape for directors a little bit in terms of compliance. Now, while individually each of these pieces of legislation might have been worthwhile and even welcome, I guess when you put them all together from the director's perspective, you've got greater levels of compliance, greater levels of red tape to face. And that's something that we have to balance with making sure the boardroom's a place that's also productive and pushing performance forward for New Zealand.
They don't want the government to make wholesale changes, but where regulation has become much more intrusive, they want government to pull it back a little bit. And I don't think the message was very much around, say with health and safety, that we should take them away, but it's about finding the right balance of getting the safety in our workplaces, but also not create so much burden that we take away the innovation, the risk-taking that's absolutely critical for good business decision-making.
The big issue in the survey that was welcome from the IoD's point of view, and perhaps unexpected, is a strong response that 64% of directors think that diversity is a key consideration when they're making appointments. And for us at the IoD, that's a very strong sign that the diversity on board's message is getting through. That doesn't mean it's without its challenges though, because there's a difference between translating that figure, perhaps the sentiment, which is a welcome sentiment, into action when it comes to those moments when chairs and boards nomination committees are actually making the decision to appoint.